Do, 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 do. Hello, hello. Hey, Kat. Hi, Megan. How are you doing tonight? Turn my light on. Hey, how are you guys doing tonight? Here we go. We have light. Let there be light. We love light. Good, good. I am excited to be here and interview our author tonight. Hi, Derek. How are you? Oh, I see Rizzy just entered the chat. Let's pop you up here, ma'am. See, do I just press guests? We'll find out. Ooh, Italy. Jet lag is not a joke. Hey, Mooney.
Renna's down there too.
Are you down there, Renna?
I saw her when I popped in.
When you clocked in?
When I popped in.
He clocked in. Got
Peanut gallery's
Mooney.
in there.
There she is. All right, let's get her
gallery
up
on the
here.
whole stadium, baby.
Renna!
Dude, I'm closing this door.
Hello, hello.
Hi!
Don't make me come in and play.
How are you doing?
I am doing better. I was so sleepy finishing up my semester and I just was like dead to the world. So I'm actually a functioning human being now. So.
Right.
Midterms and all that stuff are done.
Yeah.
Right.
Done for this year, so.
And you are ready for that break.
Oh my god. So
Poor
ready.
girl.
Can I just, you're a superhero, okay? Legitimately.
Rockstar.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Like-
I mean, I'm lucky. I mean, the people around supporting me pretty much, they pick up a lot of slack. You know, when I'm kind of just like, I can't do anything.
So, for those in the comments, Renna is in college to become a what, Renna?
I'm in law school to become a lawyer.
And
Whoa.
he writes books. Girl is a beast.
Look at you.
Thank
So
you.
for everybody who's in our chat, this is our Wednesday night Book Bestie Club, where we are interviewing the amazing Renna Ashley about her books. So you guys get your questions ready. See, Rizzy, she's got it already in hand. She's like, I'm ready. I am prepared.
I love this book so much.
I'm so glad.
Couldn't tell.
But you can tell this book has literally never been opened because I read the book on Kindle, and then when she sent me this for my birthday, I was like, it's on my trophy shelf. It's so pretty.
The trophy
We
books
love
just
trophy
have to
books.
stay. They have
Yep,
to
see,
stay
it's
pristine.
immaculate.
They can't have any.
Love it.
You know.
So for everybody who's wondering, Renna has she just released, what was it, last year? I've got it written down here.
Last September.
September 30th.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a broken throne of bronze. Is amazing. Okay. Like, I devoured this story. Like, fantastic. What was your inspiration? Like, I'm curious.
Honestly, it really was just like all the things that I was loving in romanticises. Like, I had watched Beauty and the Beast for like the gazillionth time, and I was like, why don't I just do my own version? You know, like,
Right.
I've always been a fantasy reader, but like before this, I had mostly really been writing contemporary or urban fantasy. I hadn't really I can speak. I haven't really dived into like more like higher, not that it's super high fantasy, but I hadn't really done a higher fantasy story, and so I was a little intimidated, but I was like, you know what, like, I'm just gonna try this out, have
You
some
did
fun.
awesome. You
It was
did
in my
awesome.
head, like they were talking in my head, and I'm like, you need to get out of here. You're not paying rent. You can't stay up there. Like, you gotta go.
Well, and that's because like characters, people like authors work many ways, but a lot of times you find, especially when it comes to fantasy authors, like they won't leave you alone until you put them somewhere,
Yeah.
and
Give
you're
the
like,
babies what they
look, I
want.
need right. Well, because that's the thing is like it gets so loud, and you're like, look, I've got other things I've got to do, and they're like, no,
Absolutely.
you're like, no, you got nothing to
They're
do.
like, no, I live here now. Like when I also, this is so random, but I also had a dream. I have I have a very vivid imagination, probably as we all do, and I had this dream of like, I mean, I'm always dreaming in first person, but I had a dream about like the stable scene in the beginning of the book. It wasn't
Aw,
spicy. It wasn't
yes.
spicy, but I dreamt that I was like, minor spoilers, so sorry, but like I dreamt I was with someone and then someone else like barged in and I was like, this is and then like there was more kind of after that, like like kind of some things, but you know how sometimes in dreams you don't get the whole story, so it was kind of
Right.
like that. And I woke up and I was like, I have to write this down. Like I have to write this down immediately. So
And
that kind of
it works like
became
that. Like you get that energy and you're like, I have to. You have to run with it.
yeah. It really feels like you're a conduit for the story. Like it feels like it's just coming to me and I'm like, it's just coming through you, like
Exactly. It writes itself. You
it
just
does.
what do you do? What do you do for like the writer's block though? Like when you get it, like what is your like go to?
That's it's hard cuz like for me, I will try to like back off for a little bit. I read, to like feel inspired. Like whenever I walk into a
Same.
bookstore or I pick up a book or I read a book, it makes me like, ooh, I want to write something, and like you kind of just get that rush of energy. Or I will just try to like not put too much pressure, but I'll do like sprints. Like even with school when I can't focus or I'm having a hard time starting, I'll be like, okay, like you're gonna
Right.
set a timer, you're gonna stay here, you're not gonna look at anything else, and you're just gonna
Sprints.
do for like
Something
20
about
minutes,
yeah.
and then it just kind of like jump starts. You're like, okay, 20 minutes, I can do this, and like, like you just kind of
It's almost
start.
like something like knowing that there's like a time limit. Like you get a break. Like you know mentally I'm going to get a break after this long of time
Right.
almost helps
Yeah.
because it takes that pressure off and you're like, "Oh, I'm just going to do whatever."
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes I think, and this is maybe where, like, my brain is kind of its own unusual, like, weird thing too, is like, I feel like if I've thought, like, if I've plotted too, I don't tend, like, I'm kind of a plantser, like, so I'll plot out main things, but if I know too much about where the scene's going, like, I get bored, and it just, like, doesn't thrill me as much, so if I've thought too much
Because
about it, I'm gonna be like, throw it all out, just do, like, just see what happens, and so that helps,
some
sometimes.
of the
Never
best
wing it.
plot
Just
twists.
do it.
Well, and some of the best plot twists come when you don't know where exactly where you're going and you're like, "Oh, because you're almost as excited as a reader would be because you're like, ah,
Yeah.
like this is perfect.
Yes, yes,
Like for
planting is the
every
best, I agree.
for everybody who's coming in, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about what book one and then the series is about?
Sure, yeah. Actually, I have mine back here, but you can't see it. Uh, I'll hold this one up. So Broken Through to Bronze it's a loose, I call it a loose Beauty and the Beast retelling because he's not actually a beast, but where his beastly qualities sort of come from. His temper and
Ah,
his,
they're
like,
idiots.
gruffness with her. Like, I call him, like, a grumpy Fey Prince. And she's, of course, your fiery, feisty human woman who's kind of like, I feel like she's really trying to be seen for who she is instead of what her social class and rank is. And at the same time, he's also trying to be seen as more than the prince. So it's like you've got these two people who are trying to be seen for who they are. They're kind of navigating in a world that is pushing them into boxes and expectations. At the same time, they're in a forced betrothal that they don't want, and they get on each other's nerves. So, I mean, if you like Beauty and the Beast, it's definitely got that. I tried to kind of stay true to the Beauty and the Beast story, with the developments between them. But this is a world that's ruled by precious metals. So each court has its own metal that it produces, and so that's kind of like that's how they're arranged, and the metals are really crucial to the economy and like magic. We don't see too much magic in this book because there really isn't a lot of magic happening. Although Viridian has some magic that is unique and unexplained, which I promise will get answered at some like in later in the series. But yeah, and there's this curse that's plaguing the land, killing crops, draining the land of these metals that are really important to just the kingdom's function. And so they're trying to figure things out while also trying to learn how to deal with each other and all of the angst and those sorts of things that happen.
Also, this unknown, like, what is it? It's a prophecy and all this lovely stuff that nobody knows
like
except for the king.
Unknown element, and you're like, wait. I got to the end of the book, and I was like, I don't have answers. And then Rizzy filled me in because I read it on KU, so I was like, okay, book 2. I saw it on the KU, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hop on that one. And she's like, it doesn't come out yet, and I'm like, excuse me?
You gotta be special and be a beta reader.
I am offended, ma'am.
Rizzy got there sooner.
It doesn't come out
if you want to be critique partners, I'll send it to you early.
Right. Because I'm like, excuse me, ma'am? Like, how are you going to leave me like this? I have questions.
I know, it was definitely mean. And I tried to, like, give enough so that readers would be satisfied, but then also threading in what's going to happen in future books. So, like, it's just kind of an interesting take, and maybe... so because in this series, I call them interconnected standalones with a continuing plot. So, like, each couple has their love story in one book, but the plot that's building, like what I'm laying with, you know, the King's Curse and all that stuff, like, that's building and continuing with each installment. So, more of that kind of backstory and external plot is building with each of the books, but each couple has their own sort of story.
I'm sorry.
So you're gonna see different points of view telling that story.
She says this, and I literally finished book 2, earlier this month? And I'm still, like, that one, I'm just like, why?
You can't do this to me, Rizzy.
Oh, did she tell you there's 5 books?
Yeah, it's projected to be 5.
So 5 times you feel this?
You can't do this. You can't do this to me. Like, rub it in, why don't you? Rub it in some more.
Hey, you want to talk about it? This is payback. This is karma, darling. Karma.
I know,
be nice.
I'm getting into Queen of Ash and Ruin soon. I've literally, finally, that I'm alive now, I'm like, I can read books. Let's go.
It's funny how that works, because, like, for you, you're going to school. So, like, everything is, like, engrossed in that. Because it expects you to be a lawyer.
She's also planning a wedding.
And planning a wedding.
And planning a wedding. So that's number 3.
Yeah.
You're not busy at all. You're not busy at all.
It's a crazy
Got nothing
time
going
to
on.
be alive right now for me. Luckily, like, my fiance, he's pretty incredible, because, like, he's doing most of that, like, right now. Like, he's really excited about it. Like, he's like, oh, like, you want to do registry things? Or you want to look at these, like, you want to look at favors and things? And I'm like,
we love supportive partners. We love supportive partners here.
We would
not be able to do it
without them.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all.
What would you do? You know, because you're like, I can't function.
No, and you know, it's crazy because, like, this has been a lifelong dream of mine. Like, I was writing, like, quote, like, when I was, like, 8, like, I would make them and draw them, and it's always been a dream to hold the book in your hands. But, you know, you don't realize, and I'm sure you know this really well, but, like, this is a dream, but at the same time, like, you're like, there's so much emotional whiplash. You're like really high, and then you're really low, and you're like, oh my god, why do I do this to myself? And then your partner's like, you love this, like, you got it. Do
I really? I'm not sure I love it right now. Okay,
like,
let me cry.
Sucks. Everything sucks. I wrote a sentence and it's like trash, and then next day
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, this is so good. And he's
Have you done that where you've written something and you've come back and you've read it, like when you leave it, you're like, oh my god, this is garbage. This is garbage.
Absolutely.
I can't stand it.
Absolutely.
And then you come back and you're like, did I actually write? This is amazing.
Absolutely, all the time. It's actually, so I have something I'm going to announce after Shattered Kingdom still releases, but so you might know, I unpublished, I used to write under another pen name, all my contemporary stuff, but I unpublished that because that pen name was not moving, and I'm like, Renna Ashley has some traction,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping to announce, I'm probably going to be announcing some relaunches of some of that work. But so I've been doing some editing of
Ooh.
that. And I was like, before, I was like, oh my gosh, like this sucks, like I hate it, I need to unpublish it. And I'm going back through it again, and I'm like, you know what? This is actually
Right.
good.
Right.
This
It's like
is
when you
actually
walk
not bad.
away. Exactly. When you walk away and you come back, you like have the ability to look at it with a fresh gaze and you're like, okay, maybe this wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
I am a writer. I know what I'm
Right.
doing.
But that's imposter syndrome is a funny thing. It is a funny thing. Like you
Yeah.
will write something and you will be like, "Oh my god, this is awful." And then you
Yeah.
like come back to it and you're like, "I'm so glad I didn't delete that."
Yeah. And it's like too, like I find like with, my Brenna Ashley pen name getting some more like visibility than like my old pen name too, it's also like I'm realizing just how much of a people pleaser I am and how it's affecting the
Yeah.
whole imposter syndrome. Because like you're worried about are people gonna hate it? Like how are you, like at first like people not liking it seemed like the end of the world, and I was like, no, like you still have to do it, like like, and you get scared, and then you realize like like this is for me and I'm doing this because I love it and I love the product I'm
Mhm.
putting out and people like you two like will also love it. And yeah, there's gonna be haters and Goodreads, we stay away from Goodreads. We do not
Yes,
go
we
there.
do.
We
Yes,
do
we
not go
do.
there.
If
But
you look
like,
inside her book,
uh
her dedication page, it says, "To the little girl that dreamed, look at you now."
Oh, I love
Right?
that.
Did it perfect.
yeah.
And that's the thing is like, so did you always know you wanted to go indie?
I didn't actually. I've like always been like always written, and I wasn't like I actually didn't consider the indie route until actually a fun fact: my mom is also an indie author. So
Really? So it runs
yeah,
in the family.
yeah, it runs in the family. We're all creative. So my mom writes. My brother is an artist. My brother actually drew my map, the in a broken butter bronze, and for the metals and curses, he did that. So he's talented.
I
My sister
love
paints. So
that.
we're all like pretty
Oh,
artistic.
wow.
And my mom went indie. And then I started kind of learning, like, as kind of watching her, like, as she was doing it, and then, like, kind of picked it up. So she's been really helpful for me and
Love
my
that.
books. Like, we talk about the booktop drama and gossip and books and tropes and stuff like that. So I really credit her for all of that. And she's the one who made it. I didn't even know indie was a thing, really. Which is
Right.
kind of funny to believe because I definitely, looking back now, when I was like in high school, I was reading a ton of indie books because I would download books for free on Kindle and like read, read,
Right.
read. And I'm like, those were indie books, but I didn't know that at the time. So she really kind of opened that up with her doing it herself. And
Yay for mom.
yeah,
That's
right?
We need mom's pen name so we can go find mom's
Yeah,
book.
we
Read mom's
do.
book.
So because we gotta wreck her too. Like that's
Yeah, we do.
amazing. I love that. You
She's
know?
shy, so she's like she's having a harder time with the social media and coming out and talking. So I'll make sure that mom's okay with me sharing first, but I will definitely I want to shout her from the rooftops for sure.
Girl,
Yeah.
you know me. I will cheerlead as loud as my voice will let me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. We love Rizzy and her cheerleading. She is the
Rizzy
best.
is at the actual best. Like Rizzy, you're such a light on this app. Like even
Oh
like
my
on
God,
days
no.
like we were talking about where we feel down in imposter syndrome, like you literally are
Right.
always like boosting my ego so much.
She's amazing. She's
Okay.
like she's a kick you in the butt, stop doubting yourself kind of chick. I love it.
Yes.
Okay, moving on now.
She doesn't ever let us sing her praises.
Nope.
I
That's what
Okay,
we're gonna praise
uh,
Renna.
Okay, so if you had to say what are like your top 3 tropes that are in book 1?
the knife to the throat. That's my fave. The knife to the throat. And then the scene in the hallway. With the cornering and the against the wall, like the kind of hands like caging in that one. that one, and then I think my top other, I don't know if this is necessarily a trope or not, but my other scene is one of my favorites is the scene he barges into her room. That's
Yes.
that scene.
Yes. Where he's
That
like,
scene.
yeah. And you,
Yep.
yes.
Yes.
I had to walk away from my laptop for like a solid
I
however
don't
long.
blame you. I
I
don't
was
blame
like,
you because
gotta
you're
go.
like, that was, okay, fully, I will tell you, I did not expect that one where I was like, I mean, I want to see where this goes.
Couldn't
Like,
put a pin in
I,
it.
Oh, I was surprised myself, to be honest, because this also, A Broken Throat of Bronze was really also my first book that I published with, like, spices.
Right.
So that was also me kind of surprising. I have some half-started works in progress that will probably eventually get published where I had started kind of experimenting with, like, spice, but I was like, oh, like, this is just for me for now, and this one I was like, we're doing it. Because
I give you so many kudos because like for mine, I was so afraid of my mom because my mom is a little bit more conservative, so I was very conscious of that. So like
Yeah.
book one didn't have any spice, so I have so much respect for authors who like just dive right in because I think it takes some moxie, like like you wouldn't think, but it does. It takes some moxie for you. Like especially it's your your first book in a fantasy, like you're just like, all right, we're gonna do this, and it's like,
Yeah.
look at you.
It
Like,
is scary to have your mom read your spicy book, for sure.
it is.
I would
It's
be scared.
terrifying.
Oh.
So let's see. I'm trying to find. How long did it take you to write book one?
Honestly, I don't know where. Okay, so I remember I started it. Part of this too is I started it toward the end of my semester, so I started it like, I remember I had officially started writing by like April of 23.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like out like the end of September. So like 6 months, but I also was doing this full time after school ended because I didn't have an internship for that first summer.
Right.
Because I was like, 1L was really tough. Like, I kind of didn't have like my ducks in a row because I was just like, I can't do anything. So I was really able to work on it full time, and I was just like all day. I get like super, and this is like my brain. Maybe isn't a normal brain, but like I either go like complete binge or like nothing with everything. And so like I was like don't really have much else going on. Like, a lot of my close friends from college, we kind of lived farther apart, so I didn't really go out a lot. So I was kind of like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this. So I was just doing it like all day, every day.
I'm just gonna write a book.
Working on it.
No,
And
I
I was
think
really
that's
motivated because I was like,
amazing.
I need to get it out before my next year starts, because once I get back in school, time's gonna kind of really go down. So I was like, I gotta get this done by August if I want it out this year. Yeah.
What was the difference between when you wrote book one and book two? Like, what was the differences there for you? Or is that relatively a seamless transition?
Yeah, no, I definitely thought it was different because, again, like, I was in another character's voice. So, like, the captain, Limsea, from A Broken Throat of Bronze is our main character for book two.
Right.
And so, like, I'd only ever written her from Chris's point of view, so I was kind of like, it took me a little bit to kind of get in her head, like, trying
Switching
to
into
think
a
like her.
different POV, yeah.
Yeah, like, I was kind of waiting for her to I was waiting for her to start talking to me. That's really, like, it's always, like, once they're talking in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do this, So, like, it was kind of, like, I had to, like, figure out her voice, and then figure out Asheros. He came very easily to me, though, so, like, that really wasn't tough, but, like, figuring her out, and I did feel more confident going into book two, having written book one, like, I know this, like, because A Broken Throat of Bronze was my first fantasy romance, too, like, first, like, full-fledged romance, so, like, I had my beats, I was, like, I kind of knew the flow, and
Right.
I knew, too, like, what I wanted to do different, like, there were some things in A Broken Throat of Bronze where I was, like, I love it the way it is, and I wouldn't change it, but I'm like, I could have done more setup in the beginning, or I could have had a little bit more emotional connecting, because But at the same time, I'm like, I love how they're literally at each other's throats until they're kissing. So I'm like, maybe that's their vibe. But for the
That's
sake of this, I wanted more emotion.
like I think that the fact that they hate each other and they don't immediately start out being like, but you can feel like you did really good, like kind of underlying that there was that attraction there, especially for him. You know, and so it didn't insta love, which was kind of like, because I like that build up, you know,
Me
so
too.
because it makes it more believable. Like it, you know, like if it's just instantly, because even like a lot of times you'll find some stories will lean on this fated thing. And that'll be the whole explanation and there'll be no build up. You know, so I feel like when you have a romance that builds up, it gives you that investment as a reader. You're like, you're watching them fall in love. And I love that. I absolutely love that.
Plus, Viridian's the
sucker for that.
prince. He's the heir to the throne. He's supposed to be very reserved and unemotional.
Right.
He's very
Right.
logical. And Chris is like, fuck you, dude! You still... Really? She's all his emotion.
But I love that
love it.
that he is so insecure when it comes to her. Like
Oh,
there's something about
yes.
that.
That
Because
scene
he's
where
a,
he
he's a
says the
freaking
thing.
prince.
I
You know,
love
he's a
him out
freaking
of
prince. He
his
gets whatever he
element.
wants. Exactly.
Yes. And
But like
that's
when it
also
comes to
one of
her,
those
he's
tropes
like,
I love.
I don't know if she likes me.
Yes, yes, and that's a trope I love. Like, so I just watched Maxton Hall, binged that too, but it's very much similar. Like the whole like, he's out of his element when it comes to her because she's it's kind of that rich boy, the it guy, and a poor girl who doesn't give a fuck, for lack of a better word, and is kind of telling him off, and it just really throws him for a loop, and then he's kind of like,
Yeah, because he's
But then
used
it
to
makes
people
him
falling
want
at his
more.
feet. Exactly.
Exactly.
Or being more
And I
reserved.
love
Like,
it because it's so much more realistic in my opinion because it makes you're like, yeah, absolutely, tell him, girl. Or
Yeah.
she's like, I'm not impressed by you. I'm not impressed with the fact that you're a prince. Actually, I think that's it's a turn off. So you leave me
She's
alone.
like, I actually don't like that. Like, that's not my thing.
you're not pretty and gorgeous and you don't have amazing eyes. Go away!
Yes. And two, it's the angst, and I'm just, again, I'm a sucker for the angst, like the, I like you, but I hate that I like you. Like,
And you
like,
do that too.
Even though my boyfriend is locked up in the basement.
Yes!
I know. That was such like a,
Well,
because like,
the moment
you
where
had
she
to make him bad. Like, you have to give him that
Yeah.
beast. Like, yeah, he's locking up your boyfriend for no reason, and yet, like, he's locking him up, and yet I can't stop liking him.
Like,
You're
I totally forgot about him. For a minute.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Is like the part where when she remembers, she's like, "Oh my god, I completely forgot."
Because like it's like I forgot about him too, and I was like, oh shit, like
You're like, wait, I have to remember that part.
There's a person in the basement, and I need to address this. Like, where did he go?
where did he go? It's just like
Like,
that
I just need you to get off the page.
Struggle. That conflict.
So, what is the hardest and the easiest thing about being an indie author? Would you say?
I feel like the easiest is I love how much control I have because it's great, and I think about it. Even if I were to go back, would I go trad or would I go indie? Like, this I've always been a creative person in multiple areas, and like being indie, like I love doing the formatting. I love elements of cover design and all that stuff. Like that is really creative, and I like to do those things. And like
You
the
did that
business
yourself.
I did, yeah.
And the back.
Yeah. And I like to
You're
do that
studying
stuff.
to be a lawyer, and you're planning for a wedding, and you make your own book covers and do your own formatting.
So spiffy, we
Yeah.
love her.
It's
Oh my
wild.
gosh.
But yeah, so the control and the ability to do that is great. I love all that stuff. But I think the hardest part is the visibility. Sometimes it can be hard to get yourself out there because it's just you or a team, like even if you have a PA or something, it's hard because you don't have the resources to throw at it the way a publisher would and things like that.
Yep.
I also think the stigma, and I know like
Oh, for
there's
sure.
a huge community that's like, we support indie authors, and if you find the right people, like, that's not a problem. And I think that is changing. Yes, Rizzy, and I think that is changing, but there's still a lot of
Yeah.
people who are going to be like assuming, I'll give it a chance, but it's an indie book, or
And they're
like
waiting
that.
for it. They're waiting for it to be trash.
Right.
Like they can't wait. Exactly. They can't wait for it to not be a good book.
And I
Or they
think they
come
nitpicky.
into it reading it and being extra critical because they know it's an indie book.
Yes.
Exactly, exactly. Like, I think people are a lot harder on you. Also, when you're a debut, I find this too. Like, they
Yes.
expect you to be as good as authors who have been writing. And this isn't everybody. This is not everybody at all.
Right.
But it's like, because you're indie and you're new, like, they go into it kind of looking for things, or you know what I mean? So that is tough. Whereas, and again, I could be completely wrong because I don't have experience on the trad side, but at least, like, having been a reader and been in reader spaces before I moved into the author space, it's kind of like, there's different perceptions about the book.
I feel like in terms of like the way you look at it, like people's perception of indie, I think is because even in my own family, the first thing they're like, "Oh, who's your publisher?" And I'm like, "I'm my publisher," and like the look on a lot of their faces is like, "Oh, oh." Like I chose this though. Like I had the option. I could send my book to a to an agent right now. But I like the fact that this book is in my control because it's my baby. And I get to do all of the elements with it that I want. But people are like, "Oh, how precious." You're like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah.
Like then don't read it. It's fine.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I don't know. And like, there are so many indies that are really paving the way and showing, hey, like, we're out here doing the thing, and indie books are just as good, but still people are kind of just. But I mean, that's how people are, and they're always going to be like that, and it is not going to make me stop going,
No.
like, doing indie, but like, it is the part that I find the most challenging. Again, I'm also a people pleaser and trying to unlearn the people pleasing part
Yes.
of myself. But this experience actually has really helped me, I think, start to
Oh, for
kind
sure.
of stop doing that, because like I'll have
Well,
a
and
thought and I'll be
finding
like,
yourself.
yeah, yeah. I found it's really freeing, and it's actually like bleeding into other parts of my life too, where I would have cared about the way
Yeah.
people perceive me, or how my worth was tied up in other people's approval, and I'm really unlearning that with like,
Yes.
the books,
And
and
I
it's
think
it's been pretty awesome.
Well, and I say, because like I'll tell everybody, like a lot of the people that we see down in the comments here they have a lot to do with that. Like a lot of the people that follow you and like believe in your writing are a huge reason why you find self.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it resonates with them, and you find people who like fully accept you for who you are, and that's,
Yes.
I mean, unbelievable. What advice would you give new indie authors?
I think I would say, like, do your research, like, research what platforms you want to go on to, how they deal with people, like, some people like KU, other people don't like KU. So, like, do your research, because I think confidence, and this is maybe something that is coming with being a lawyer too, like, preparation breeds confidence too. Like, when you know your stuff, like, you feel so much more confident, and even when other people are trying to, like, kind of chip you down, you're like, nope, I know what I'm doing, and you know what I mean? I would also say reach out to people like you and Rizzy and other authors. Like, if you you might not know things, and that's okay, but like, I would say, like, don't be afraid to
Ask questions.
reach out to people, talk to people, ask questions, because like, that will also create relationships with other authors, and that, I find too, has been really helpful for lifting me up, like making friends like you and Erin and like this other author I've met on kind of through TikTok too, but Instagram too. Her name's Ann Caudle. Her book is Worthy of Fate, and you should check that out. But like, you kind of
Shameless
build
plug.
a tribe.
Right? I love that.
Shameless plug. I don't even know if she's on, but you build a tribe, and you all build each other up and
Yeah.
help each other out, and I feel like that is the best piece of advice for sure. Yes.
Well, and I feel like this community, like the community of readers that I've found on TikTok, is like they go hard for their authors. Like,
yes.
exactly like Rizzy with Because the thing
Yes.
is I find, especially like if you're struggling in that day, like you're having a hard day, the readers that I've found on this app have been like, hey, girl, I got you. I've got you.
Yes.
Like, what do you need? Let me help
Yes.
you. I've got all of the love for you today. And it's like, thank you. You know, because you're just like, you know, because
It's
you
like
just
that. Yeah, it's like that immediate camaraderie, and like, and I saw this on Threads, and people were like, indie authors, like, it takes a village, and it's so true. Like, whether or not, like, you're you critique partnering with somebody, or they're sharing all your posts all the time, like Rizzy and like
yes.
you, and like, those little things, like, I think it makes a huge difference,
It
and just having
does.
people behind you, like, it's such a good confidence booster too,
You
to
don't
like
feel
believe in yourself and
alone.
believe in your work, and be like,
because
I'm doing the
because
thing.
the internet can feel so lonely, right? Like, so when you're trying to find your people, when you're trying to find your village, it can feel really lonely, and you're sitting here like, hello, and then you find people like this one and the ladies in the comments who are like, girl, we got you, and you're like,
Yeah.
it feels so nice to not be alone. I just love you guys so
It does. It
much.
does. Oh.
Are you doing any signing events this year?
Not this year. My whole philosophy is I need to get through the wedding.
Yes.
And then I can go places. Gotta get through the wedding. I have to graduate and pass the bar. That's kind of like the immediate right now.
You know,
And
because
also,
that's nothing. You know, like that's easy peasy.
yeah,
You know,
totally.
you should come to Packing the Readers next year, though.
That would be
That
so cool. I gotta see
because
what the
Rizzy's
dates
gonna be
are.
there. He's gonna be.
And
Well, now I
Katie.
have to go.
Yeah,
And
Katie's
and
gonna be
you
there.
too.
Mooney's gonna be there. We're all gonna be there.
Ooh,
Come hang
all
out.
right, someone needs to DM me the information, and I'll see.
I will once we get off here. I will send you the information.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Where is the best place for people to pick up your book? Like, where do you get the most royalty for it?
I think I'm about the same on both. I think the Zon might be a little bit higher, but honestly, for print, Barnes and Noble's also pretty close. I'm also in KU. If you're a Kindle Unlimited reader, I'm there.
That's where I found her.
Definitely Amazon and Barnes and Noble are my big two right now. I'm looking into other avenues, like researching Ingram and other things, but for right now,
Do you sell
that's
off
where
your
I'm at.
website or anything? Do
Not
you like?
yet, but I'm
Nice.
trying to set that up. I'm looking into the best option for me, because I'm like, most of my sales are ebook, so that's kind of right now with KU and things like that. I'm like, I would just be doing like print on my website if I started out right
Right.
now. But I would love to do like a special edition or something like that
That would
at some point. I'm thinking after the second book releases, I'll have more stock, and so it might make more sense. But,
Right.
as of right now, not yet, but hopefully
Okay.
in the future.
So that is my part of the questions. We're gonna bring it into Mooney's portion.
Exciting.
Can I go now?
Yes.
Mild spoiler questions. So you mentioned the lineage of Clara, right? Clara, is that right?
Krista.
Krista.
There, I'm lousy with
It
names.
was like, wait, who the hell is
That's
Clara?
totally okay.
We were all like,
That's
wait.
totally okay.
I'll open the book.
The main FMC. You mentioned her lineage at the beginning of the book. When she was in the library with the priestish guy.
Okay, what are you talking about?
I'm like,
They were researching the lineage, and the current provost, or like I said, I'm lousy with names.
oh, like the kings, the succession of
Yeah.
the kings, how the last queen before Verdian's father was from the Gold Court, is that? Yes.
Yeah.
I think. Is that what we're...
Yeah. So, was it implied that her lineage used to be part of the High Court?
Yes. So before Viridian's father Vor was the king, the previous queen was from the Gold Court and would have been probably Chris's great aunt. Yeah, you were actually gonna find out some more about that last queen because she died without an heir, which led to the Feralith, which is that the right where the heads of house and heir apparents can compete for to be the next king. So we actually are gonna get into that. I'm kind of, that's going to be definitely a slow build because this is all kind of building into kind of that external plot that's really going to get going.
So much
I think in
awesomeness.
3 and 4. But you will kind of get some more tidbits about her in book 2, but only kind of some small things about how she was really pivotal for this sort of historical event that you're going to kind of start to hear
I like
about
how
in book 2.
you're trying so hard to like walk around it because you're like,
I know.
I don't spoil it.
I'm like trying not to spoil, but at the same time, I'm really excited. Rizzy, did I do okay?
Right, and I'll openly admit that I read it in a rush, so I was
That's
giving
totally
it
fair.
half the attention.
That is totally
Um,
okay. I understand. I can't admit. I mean, you guys too. Like, you've got the kids and things going on, so don't feel bad at all.
Just a
Um,
few things. Just a few.
No, and I noticed the lineage, and I earmarked it in my head, and it's like I got to ask her about this because it's clear that her aunt wanted her dead originally. That was touched on
Yep. Yes.
because
He does really good with mapping the story. Like where I'm just like, oh, take me on the journey. I'm like, I'll believe everything you say. Mooney's like, here and here and here and here, like mapping the whole thing.
Yeah.
so you're saying that that's part of the whole subplot that's going to encompass the 5 books.
I think the Queen's death is because it ties to some history that's going to come in. Maelera wanting Krista dead, it's really because she is a part of my friend. She's really a stuck-up bitch, very much like
a
our blood
hag.
needs to be pure.
She's a
And
hag.
she didn't want like this half-human demi-fae to ruin her kind of very like esteemed noble family, really. So that's really kind of like her, like what that is. But the queen dying without heirs, that is gonna be part of that plot that's going on. Maelera is just Maelera, and that's really
She's a hag.
She seems like a warm, sweet aunt. I mean,
So loving, right?
You guys are gonna get so much more reason. You guys are gonna have so much more reasons to hate Maelera in book 4 because Nisroth is gonna
we
be
really
the
need more
MMC in
reasons?
book 4, and you're gonna
Go,
get to really hate her. But maybe I shouldn't have said that. But I
Anyway.
can give you something.
La 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 la.
so
But
you
you're
clearly
gonna
have,
understand.
I hear nothing.
But you're gonna understand why she is the way she is in book 4, and the history that's coming in from the previous queen dying is gonna show you why she feels that need to keep it pure, to keep the power, to keep them strong. Like, you're gonna get it, but you're also really gonna hate her still. Like, if that makes sense.
so
Hey,
it's
Vanessa.
gonna be like a Harry Potter and the Pure Bloods versus the Mud Bloods, and
Yeah. That's kind of what it is. Like, she is really kind of... I kind of took everything that I didn't like about... Like, and you see this with class differences and people in power. I kind of took all that I didn't like and I put it into her. And, like, you are gonna get why. Because I don't like to make villains that are just flat and they're mean because they're mean. Like, I do like to give them... Like, I do like you to see why they are the way they are, even though they're wrong or they're flawed. So you are gonna understand her and you're gonna see what things in her past have kind of made her that way or what she's afraid of that makes her that way. But yeah, she's
now
really
is
just...
that train of thought because you're going to school to be a lawyer, where you have to kind of look behind everything and kind of reason away why this and that.
I think honestly that's part of it, but I also think it's some of my background too. Like, I'm from like you, Rizzy, like I know you are, I don't know about you guys, but I'm from a pretty urban area, you know, where my city is kind of always looked down on, you know, like people from like the neighboring towns, they're always kind of looking down our nose at you, like, you know, like, not
Yeah.
that I have experienced that because I was very fortunate to grow up middle class, like pretty middle class, but like people in my school, like I was in the public school where, you know, our building was raining inside and like, you know, kind of have a bad rap. So it's maybe from my background of people thinking they're better than me because I'm from this city and like stuff like that. But I also think part of it is being a lawyer and kind of seeing things that go into it. But I want to be a lawyer to kind of make people like that not do the things that they do. But I think that is part of it for sure. So it's kind of like I've always like disliked class differences, and you know, I was bullied as a kid too, which again, we're not getting to the sob story, but I don't like when people think they're better than you just because they have something. Like that's always kind of struck a chord with me, and that is why I think I want to be a lawyer, is that kind of advocacy sort of thing. So that's kind of part of why I think that's part of what goes into my more villain characters, is those sorts of things that I see as not like problems, but the things that I find wrong with the world, maybe, if that's the right way to put
I
it.
think writing is a great way to be able to call that stuff out and kind of write it the way you want it, ideally, or at least expose it, you know, and just be like, you know, this is, you know, how it works.
So, you do world building, but it's not like a lot of story world building. Obviously, the humans are considered less than.
Yeah.
Do you get into? Will you get into kind of how that came to be that way, or was it just that's the way it was?
Yes, I will get into it. Part of it is this is the way it's been, but part of it is also going to get into that history that's going to come out with stuff with, you know, the gods and things like that. It was really kind of meant to be an allegory again for class differences, like kind of like working class versus upper class. But yeah, I think, yeah, we are going to start to see more of that coming out. And that's another thing that's probably the lawyer in me, is I don't like to give too much at once. Like, I kind of like to give things as they become relevant, you know, because I try to stay in the character's head, like what they would be thinking. So that's why my world building isn't too crazy, is I like to show the world as the characters interacting with it. But more of that backstory is definitely coming out, and I think it's all, like Rizzy can probably attest, it's already starting to come out in book 2. Like you're seeing more, and then you're gonna see more in book 3 with Murden's book, which you're gonna hate me for this, Rizzy, but two and 3 happen at the same time. So
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because what happens in 2, they're secluded within their own little group, so you don't have to worry about what's going on. I need to know what's going on and who the hell that girl was in the end.
You're gonna see all of what's going on outside of their bubble in Murden's book because it's happening at that same time, and so they're both gonna end at that same point, and then 4 is gonna pick up and progress from that.
I'm excited.
So you mentioned book 1 was based on Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Are the other ones based on other classical stories as well?
Oh, Moody.
Not really, but they do pull on fairy tales. So, like, there's a little bit of Snow White / Sleeping Beauty in 2. There's, like, a part there with another kind of not little, but there's a point there where it does kind of pull on those themes. I do actually have another plan, though, that does follow like a retelling. There's an idea clinking in my brain for a novella about Viridian's parents that is going to be a full kind of Sleeping Beauty retelling kind of in there with that. So like that one might be, but so far, like with the other books, the main books, they're really kind of doing their own thing, but they're drawing inspiration from fairy tales. So yeah.
So you said book 2, you said Snow White.
I thought Snow White, but Rizzy thought Sleeping Beauty. But it's
I
kind
didn't
of
even
similar.
Don't tell me there's 7 dwarves.
No. See,
No.
that. So, no, there's not 7 dwarves, but I didn't even think of the Snow White and 7 dwarves until you just said that because of the group. It makes so much sense now.
Like, that's what I was thinking in my head, is kind of some, you know what I mean? Like, not like a retelling, but like drawing a little bit, you know, from there's a part where, there's a part, though, where there's a trope or thing that happens in both Sleeping Beauty and Snow White that occurs.
No, it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense now. I was like, wait. And then I was thinking back and I'm like, no, it's Snow White because it could be Sleeping Beauty because of what happens, but it does happen in Snow White too, so it makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I'll stop. So
No
what
worries,
was
no
the
worries.
biggest? Obviously, with book one, it was Beauty and the Beast. But were there any other influences that you had in?
Yeah, actually, that opening kind of prologue was very Sleeping Beauty with that kind of Maleficent energy. Like that, I was kind of thinking in the back of my head. Actually, when I was writing it, I wasn't thinking Maleficent, but then one of my earlier readers was like, "This is totally giving Maleficent." I was like, "You're so right," and I'm so here for it. Like you can tell that I was a Disney child watching the princess movies and things like that because
Same.
it's coming out.
Um, so did you put anybody from your life into the book?
Not really, which is kind of like I probably did because like you write what you know like you can only write sort of to the extent of things. I mean, you have an imagination and just, you can write things that you haven't experienced, but your experience kind of really shapes it. Um, like at least in this book, like Linsea does kind of remind me of my best friend, like kind of the snark, the kind of no bullshit. Like that definitely comes out. Like my best friend is a New Yorker, like you know what I mean. Like she is like for sure, like kind of get yourself together, like what do you know what I mean? Like kind of those things. The
Figure
way
it
I
out.
say it is as a friend to Krista. Obviously, I drew inspiration from my fiance for Viridian, but like like my fiance is very his personality is not really Viridian, but there are times that come out where he's like very protective, and that's Viridian, or like like you know
When
what
the
I mean,
lightning,
like
when
some
the
other
lightning
The
things
seems
that are
hand
very
thing.
inspired by my fiance. Like it's kind of crazy. Is I will tell this to his face. Sometimes some of the one-liners that he'll come with, I'm like, you were written by a woman. Like you were written by a woman. Like
I love
so.
that.
Um, if that answers, I hope that answers your question.
So what was the hardest part to write with book one?
Writing book one really wasn't hard. Like, I think the hardest part for me is honestly editing. Like, editing is the worst for me. Like, especially the developmental edits, like when I have to go back and add things. Um, like, when I'm drafting, it's kind of, again, like I'm just going and I'm pantsing, so I don't always know what's going to happen. But editing, you have to go back and make it look like you knew what you're doing the whole time. And
You
I'm
have to
like,
polish
well,
it.
this is like
Yeah.
really tough. And editing
Normally,
that book
once
was
you
really
become an
hard for
attorney, you
me.
just hand it off to a paralegal to clean it up. And
Yeah, exactly. I'll just be like, I don't have to do this anymore. But editing that book was really hard for me, like with the imposter syndrome. Like I loved writing that book. Like that whole time the whole time drafting, I was always having a great, like for the most part, I was really having a great time. Like I would get stumped a few times, being like, how are they gonna fix this? And then I would kind of go back to my beat sheet and look at things like that. But like editing was really the beast for me, and it was really because I was the emotions. Like I was just for some reason I just thought the whole thing was trash when I got to a certain point in editing. I was like, this whole thing just sucks, and so that was really tough. So I guess to answer your question, but also not answer your question.
so, what was the most fun part?
The fun part. I think the fun parts were them finally getting past the hating each other. Like, that was really fun for me. Like, kind of them connecting. Like, the scene where they go into the city for the first time, I had such a blast writing that. Kind of like, it's that scene, and again, I literally, it's just all the things that I like in movies, are those scenes where they just kind of forget about who they are, and they're just them. For like, however long that they're out. Like, I loved that. Like, that was really fun for me.
Well, and how empowering it was for her to be like, haha, I know how to do stuff you don't know how to do. I know how to get information out of the common folk.
Yeah. And it was really important, I think, for her, too, to learn that, they have their own struggles, the class differences. Like, they have different struggles, and yes, like, they might have it easy in some areas, but they also you know, he's also insecure. And I think that was a big point for her, is because she just had this perception of the noble fae in her head. Like, they're like this. They don't have fears. They're just whatever. They think they're the god's gift to this world. And kind of realizing, oh, he's actually insecure about this. And, like, he gets scared, too. Like, it was I think it was a big turning point for her.
So adorable.
The moment when she actually realizes, like, oh, wait, he thinks I don't like him. And, like, that was a profound moment, in my opinion, where she's like, oh, wait. So, like, he doesn't know that I like him. And, like, that light bulb moment where she's like, oh, wait.
Well, when she was listening outside the door, it actually kind of struck home, where she was like, and he's saying, I really do like her. I really do. I just don't know. And it's like,
You're so cute. Just smushes.
And I love the tortured hero, where he thinks he's doing it for her, but it's like killing, you know?
I don't know what to do.
I'm a sucker
know
for
what to
that,
do.
but I also realizing I like the miscommunication trope, and people do not like it, but there's something about it for me when they're like, oh, he thinks I don't this, or she's this, and they're both like, but I do, and like the drama, which maybe people
But
will
I think
cancel
for
me for
you,
that.
like, you didn't, because, like, I think sometimes authors can, like, play it too long. And, like, they drag it through the whole thing, but, like, you kind of allow the reader to see what's going on. And, like, you can, like, again, that moment where she's like, oh, wait. She has, like, this understanding where she's like, he doesn't know. And so, like, she has to make a decision to, like, fix that. And I love that that's in there, because a lot of times in the miscommunication trope, you don't have that aha. That realization where you're in their head.
Well, it really helps that it was single POV the entire time, so you're not like, oh wait, and you're getting that insight, and then all of a sudden, the great aha when she overhears his internal struggle on the whole thing. It's like, oh, that's really good.
It's humanized.
I mean, she's a little bit of an unreliable narrator at times, and that was kind of by design. You know, like when you're in somebody's head, and I try to write like, and this is, you realize, like, as a writer, I'm realizing I do what I like in other books, but it's like, you realize, like, people aren't perfect, and this book was very emotionally driven. Like, the feeling of the scene is kind of what made it go where it went, and the characters' emotions, like, sometimes they're not thinking logically, and they're thinking with their hearts instead of their heads, and they're gonna do things that, you know, maybe you as a reader who's not in your feelings can see, okay, like, you can be objective, but they can't be because they're in it, you know? So I totally agree with Mooney's point about that single point of view and, like, all that, making that,
keeping it nice and neat for the reader.
yeah. Age range of the character, so it is new adult. So Krissa has just turned, like, 20. But for Viridian, he's kind of like 100-ish, because the Fae age span, kind of the way they mature. I'm so sorry. I talk with my hands.
No, you're good. It's all over the place. Like, you look at him and like, oh, he's 25. No, he's 112. It's like,
for Fae, he is 25.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
what I'm trying to get. Like,
They
He
age like dog years, It's
dog years.
Yeah. And that's a little Dungeons and Dragons inspired too, like the elves of D&D. That's kind of how they age.
Exactly.
I have a gazillion more, but I know Rizzy's going to need to eat dinner here and soon,
No worries.
so I'm going to hand it off to her.
Oh,
No
yes,
worries. I hope I didn't talk too much and I answered the ones that
No,
you
you're
needed
doing
to.
great. You're doing great.
fine.
You are doing amazing, Renna.
We're right on track. And if Mooney has any other questions, because Mooney's side of things when we do this is from more of the logical, the marketing, the way that the ins and outs and stuff like that. Whereas
And that
I'm
is
your
so-
reader, so I go
that's
through
so
your emotions and your reading, and then DM's our author, so she reads all the Arthur questions. So if he has his questions, he can always ask you later, and then you guys can discuss that. So
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
we'll just have to have you back on in September, and I can ask them.
Absolutely.
That would be great, and then you guys
I'm
will
here
have
for
read the book 2 will be out, and then I won't have to censor myself.
right, but then she'll have to censor herself about other things because book 2.
Yeah.
True.
Anyway, okay. So we've talked about Krista and Viridian and the characters in this book. They're our focal point. But do you have a favorite side character in their story that like you kind of like? I know that all our side characters have their own stories, but in this book in particular, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, my girl Limsea was my favorite.
This captain of the High
My
Court.
girl.
Yes.
I don't know. There's something about her, how she's very like, no BS, like to the point. This is it. Like we're gonna do this, and the kind of the snark, the kind of she like I really admire that about her, that she couldn't care less what somebody thinks. Like this is her job. She's doing her thing. Like you can get out of my way or like help. Like don't like you know what I mean?
I'm not responsible for what happens if you don't get out of my way.
Exactly.
She does that with Viridian, and like her and Krista like have that immediate bond because she's like, okay, you're not gonna feed her. I'm gonna feed her. You want to stop me? Because she needs to eat.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
she's like the
seriously?
Mrs. Potts almost. Come on, dearie, we're gonna eat our food now. But
Yes.
he said no. I don't care what he said.
Like, so and like, what do you want?
Which is why we
Yeah.
got her in book 2. Okay.
Yeah, it was really fun being in her head for book 2. That was pretty cool.
Well, we're not going to talk about the Blade Singer and her inner thoughts and stuff like that right now, ma'am. So I know that some authors like to listen to music or attribute music to their stories because, like DM with book 2 has a whole playlist. Were there some songs that you felt were inspiration for you when writing this book?
Yeah. There are like Ruel, War of Hearts. I liked. See, I am very much, and this is for even when I'm doing things for school too. Whenever I like need to focus, I put in like my music and I blast, and I'm very much a hard rock girly, so a lot of times I will just be on blast, like, and the music kind of tunes out, so like the music I'm listening to might not necessarily be the vibes. It's really kind of like my focus, let's get in gear. But like definitely for the vibes of the book, I think War of Hearts, Ruel, War of Hearts, Deep End too, like just kind of there's a point where they're really falling off the deep end. I listened to a lot of Succession Studios, like the instrumentals, like The Untold. Those were just like the vibes for like when I needed to think of vibes. So like for when I'm planning and stuff like that, I would listen to I have like a fantasy like writing playlist, and that's what I listen to when I'm kind of planning or sitting. But the actual writing, I've got my Breaking Benjamin on blast. I'm listening to 3 Days Grace. I'm listening to Rise Against. I'm listening to Shinedown. I'm listening to Seether. I also have been really into Starset, and lately I've been a Sleep Token girly. But when I was writing that, I was kind of
Yes.
so.
No, that's great. No, I love it because I've listened to a lot of music thanks to DM and a couple other authors, my friends of mine who have playlists for their books, and I'm finding music that I never would have found on my own. So if you have a playlist for your writing, so that send it to me. I found that reading and listening to music not only does it amplify your scenes, it keeps you in the moment, and it just makes everything so much more impactful. And I love that.
Yeah. No, I will totally send that to you.
Recently, you brought your fiance into one of your videos. We saw his hand in his little thing. While it was just his hand, are you wanting to involve him anymore? Because I know a lot of your videos are just the books, but is there like a way you want to kind of like maybe bring him in, or is there like more of it we're going to see? Because if you've watched Erin's video, Jamie is like full frontal in front of it.
Yes.
So.
No, she does a lot with him. So I was actually surprised that he agreed to do that with me, because he's very much like, he is so chill and down to earth, and he's normally like, sure, like whatever, but there are some things that he's like, this isn't my element, and it's like getting teeth to pull that man to do something, like in those rare instances. So I was like, you want to do this TikTok with me? Like, I'll just need your hand. He was like, sure. And I was like, let's go. So,
Yes.
I don't know. He's definitely, like, not a big social media guy. Like, his extent of social media is he'll post every once in a while, but he'll spam me with, like, Instagram reels, and that's kind of a communication or a love language. So I don't know. Like, I have to talk to him about it and see that, like, I think I could get him to start doing little bit by little, but I don't think it would be, like, a ton, because he's very kind of, like, he's not, like, he gets kind of camera shy, so, he's definitely very much an introvert, so I'm not sure. But I would love to do things with him every so often. Like, I think that would be so fun.
So
Just wait
are
until the
you
ring's on.
what?
Wait until he's married.
Wait till you're done. The ring is on.
Nose game.
We're done. I've noticed. Do you feel like you're a little more introverted too? Because you were very like stingy with your face on your videos, but a lot of it is just let me show you how to read this book. Look at
Yes.
the pitchy book. It's not that we don't love it because that is a great way to show off your book.
Yeah.
But do you feel like as you get more into the series that you maybe want to be more in front of the camera, or are you still going to be like, no, read the book for the book, not the author?
I honestly, like, I'm definitely more introverted in real life. Like, where, like, social settings are sometimes difficult for me. But surprisingly with, like, TikTok and things, I'm coming out of my shell more. I still get nervous sometimes before going lives and things like this one I wasn't too nervous for. But, like, face videos I don't mind making. I just found that when I have, like, so, like, I did have a previous TikTok account and I was doing more face, and that worked for that account, but like for this account they don't do as well. So part of it is kind of the marketing, like, you know, like from where Mooney's coming from, like the page flips I have found do better for me. But I have a blast with the face videos, and where I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I don't really care what people think. I'm probably gonna start making more because they're fun, so like for trends and things. But I definitely was more introverted, and I'm coming out of my shell as I'm kind of shedding the don't really care what people think. Like, this is me. I'm out here doing my thing, and you like it, great. If not,
Having a good
I'm
time.
still here.
I love it. No, I love it. You have such a pretty face. I'm just like, I want to see Renna. She's so cute. Okay. So why did you choose metals for the court? Like, what was your decision? Because like you have the Court of Thorns and Roses and the Courts of Dark Princes and stuff like that. So why did you focus on metals? Like, what was your inspiration for that?
Yeah, I was really, because I didn't want to do the same thing. Like, there's a lot in A Broken Throne of Bronze that I didn't really do much that was new. Like, I just did my own take on things. But I was trying to think, like, what hasn't been done before with the courts? Like, what could I think of? And, like, you know, I kind of started thinking of the world building. Like, it really came from that. And I was like, what? Because I was thinking about their economy. I'm like, what could be a product that this economy is run on, right? And then, you know, I kind of thought about, like, modern exports and things like that. And I was like, what about metals? And then it was kind of funny. Before I even started writing, I was kind of playing around with a cover idea for A Broken Throne of Bronze. And I was kind of playing with things like, and just this metallic, I was kind of playing with that bronze color, metallic theme. And I was like, you know what? And then the title kind of popped into my brain, which is so weird because normally I don't like titles. I need a fully baked idea sometimes before the title, but I was just kind of like thinking about things that I could play with, and then I kind of was like, metals. This could be really cool, you know, like, because then I was thinking, like, there's so much about metals, like they have their chemical properties, like I could play on that, like how could I incorporate this export into their culture, their economy, their magic, and the metals kind of, I just started thinking and getting more ideas.
No, I love it because as you and I know, they'll become a little more important, a little more focused in book 2 when we start to see more of the magic the world has, which
Yes.
I freaking screamed. I was like, oh my god, yes, finally. But
it's so fun.
It was a great idea because I was thinking about it when you read the first one. I'm like, they mentioned the metals and all that stuff, but it didn't really click until I read book 2, and I'm like, okay, nope, I get this now. Okay.
And that's so fair because, like, with the whole Beauty and the Beast, they're really in the castle a lot of the time, and it's really them. Like, there wasn't a lot with that story arc. There wasn't too much of an opportunity to kind of get into that. So I was definitely like, with the next books, I really kind of wanted to get more out into the world, into its backstory, like Mooney was asking about earlier. So, like, with these next books in the series, you're really getting more. You're getting out into the world more and all that. So it's been pretty cool so far.
So are we going to see the Kingdom of Iron, maybe?
Not the next one is Steel.
No,
Yes,
but
yes.
are we going to see a Kingdom of Iron?
No,
That's
we are
completely
not.
controlled
No,
by
because Iron
humans.
isn't one of our courts, is it? No.
Iron is not one of our courts, because
Right.
iron in my world shuts out magic.
That's right.
Iron is the blocker.
And so logic would state is there could be a human realm that's completely ruled by iron.
There definitely could.
Rudy's just giving her writing ideas. Credited by
Just
Rudy.
giving me ideas to expand the world, because, like, true, like, I haven't thought about much off of Venetia Shores. Like, there's other things out there, and I could have a whole universe of
The
this
Iron
and that.
Team
I'm
would
sure
be like
there's
our
human lands
District
somewhere that
13.
have
Yes.
fortified themselves with iron.
No, I like that idea though. That's a good idea, Mooney.
I do like that. I'll have to.
He's
When I
the
write
one who
that
gives
book,
me the best ideas for my stories. Like, I'll give him like what I'm working on, and he'll be like, "What about this and this?" And I'm like, "Yes, that."
yeah, when I write that book, I'm gonna dedicate it to Mooney. I'll be like, this wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Mooney.
I love that.
Hold on, guys. My phone is going off.
No worries.
But no, that's a great idea. I like that. Okay, so which scene did you get the most oh my gosh moments from your readers? Because I know everyone has them where they're all like, you get your DMs and you're just like, why, Renna? Oh my god! Like, what do you feel in book one gave you that moment the most?
It's definitely the scene where he barges into her room. Like, that's the one that has a lot of highlights. And whenever I post about that or people are talking about that, they're like, that's see, like, that's the one too. Like, I'm thinking I want to do like a newsletter freebie or something, and I sent out a poll for what scene they'd like to see from Viridian's point of view, and that was the top scene. Like, which I expected it was going to be, but like that was the top one.
Fair.
You know, so I think it's that one for sure.
No, I love it. No, that one and the scene that you equated to the Beauty and the Beast moment when he's like, well, fine, go ahead and starve then. No food for you. And she's like, fine.
I love that. And
that is my
I think
favorite
that
scene.
one gets as much, that one doesn't get as much attention as I think it deserves.
Yeah, I know, I totally
Right.
agree. That's definitely my favorite. Let's see that one. Okay, so who is your biggest cheerleader when it comes to your writing? I mean, obviously your fiance is going to be there, but like, who do you feel in your world is the most like, you can do it. This is great. Keep going.
Obviously, my mom, for sure. She keeps telling me that she thinks I'm gonna be, like, a Curse of Bronfen, and, like, she thinks, like, I'm great and all that stuff. You, Rizzy, for sure, like, you're up there. Like, you, my mom, obviously my fiance, but, like, really, like, you guys, you know, are really the people that come absolutely to mind, you know?
Aw.
Just my biggest, you're, like, you and them, you guys are, like, my biggest cheerleaders. You know that. And I'm sure there's so many people, too, like, on Bookstagram, because I've been getting kind of more involved over there in that space, too, that are, like, always kind of, like, Christy Spicy Literature. I think she might be that on TikTok, too, but she's, like, always, like, hyping me up and sharing my stuff and things like that. You know, so, like, you guys are really the biggest cheerleaders. But, yeah. But my mom is really...
I'm just going to change my business card to Rizzy Reed's biggest cheerleader.
Make that
Tom's
happen.
biggest cheerleader, let me tell you.
Put it right at the bottom of your stickers.
Yes, because I
Yeah,
get
that's
stickers.
right.
Right above the word author.
Shut up, Danielle. We're not talking about that.
I know. You casually mentioned to me the other day that you write things, and I asked you more about it, and I was like,
No, we don't talk about Rizzy writing because Danielle and Mooney gang up on me, and it's not fair. And then Katie gets involved in the comments, and then it's just...
See, we're gonna go ahead and take it from Rizzy Reads to Rizzy Writes. And it's
Oh
fun.
my gosh.
Rizzy reads and writes.
Look at me. Rizzy's just multi-talented.
I'm just saying, you already have some built-in cheerleaders for when you made that jump.
Right?
I'm just saying, I will be right there in your corner.
I am done with my questions. Oh wait, no, I did have one more. Your names, because I've had a bad habit of...
That's okay. I need to make
yes.
I need to do a video saying how they're said.
Because
That's on me.
I
have to
read
do
the
that.
entire book too, calling him Asheros.
That is so fine.
Okay,
So
and then
fine.
you said his name, and I'm like, what? Have I been saying it wrong this whole time?
I am not offended at all. I think honestly, it's pretty cool to hear how people interpret it, because, like, sometimes I'm in my brain so often, and I love hearing the way you pronounce it. And also, like, pronunciation guides are hard, because I'm like, how do I write this in a way that people will get? So I need to make a video or something on stories that I can pin somewhere with, like, this is how you say the things, but if you want me to rattle off some at the moment,
Yes,
I can
give
do
me.
that.
So give me. We know Viridian and we know Krissa. So give me
Yes.
our captain of the guard again.
So I say it Limsea.
Limsea. Okay.
That's how I say it. But Limzea is also appropriate or anything too. Like I'm not like super like particular.
No, I had to.
That's how I say it.
I had to correct myself because I kept wanting to call her Lamisia, but I'm like, there's no other letter in there. I was adding a letter that didn't exist.
That's okay.
But Limsea, I love it. Okay.
Limsea. I say it Asheros, but
Asheros.
I am also kind of one of my beta readers, Svetlana. I forget what her handle is, but she kept like in her feedback, she kept calling him Ash, and I was like, why didn't I think of giving him a nickname?
That's why I
Like,
call him Asheros because that's how I pronounced it. But I love it.
And Asheros is acceptable. Like, you can veto me. In my head, it's been Asheros, but Asheros is great, and so, yeah, feel free to veto me on that.
And
You
what's
can
his name?
beat him, he says. I love that.
How do you pronounce our lovely little copper baby? How do you pronounce his name?
I've said it Murden, like
Murden.
Murden.
Okay.
And his last name, I say it as Terrantry. Viridian's last name in my head is Avanos,
Avanos. Yep.
and that's a name that I've had since I was like. I wrote a story when I was 14, and the family was Avanos in the Kingdom of Venetia, and that just died on my computer somewhere. And then when I was coming up with names for things, I'm like, I like this. Let's bring it back, you know.
Yes, I love it.
So Viridian Avanos, Crissa Thirdred, Limsea Winterliff, Asheros Larman or Larman. I don't really. You can do whatever. The Kingdom of Venetia. I don't know why it's spelled like that, and I say it like that, but I think of like TIA words where they do have the sh or something like that. So that's what I think of. Like Slyfell, the city in the Gold Court where Chris is from. Curon, our capital city, which I know like kind of throws, but like it's kind of like DC, where it's a territory that the others don't have, but it's kind of in the middle. Nobody has direct claim to it. And there's some other cities too.
Girl, like that's a lot of names.
There are a lot of names. Yeah, a lot of. Honestly, part of that too, like I use like some name generators to get my brain going, or like I'll use generators and take pieces of one that I liked and mesh it with another, or like change spellings a little bit to kind of, because it's hard sometimes to come up with like fantasy names.
Yeah, she's got. If you look at this map, there's literally a town all over the place. And they kind of give me like Nordic like ruin kind of vibes with some of them.
Yeah.
Like that's why I was like,
so for the steel core and the bronze core, I really was trying to channel like Elven City, kind of Elven, very Lord of the Rings-esque cities. But for the silver core, I really was going with the Viking, like kind of like things like that. Copper was kind of a mix of both. There's some that are kind of Elven, some that are kind of not, and then.
Yeah, there's so many
in-betweens there.
Seriously, look at this map, guys. If you read on KU, buy it. Look at this map. Girl is in depth, and I can't wait to see how book 2's map looks. Okay, so now is the time for the Mad Lib.
Well, let's make sure. Does anybody in the comments have any questions for our wonderful author? We've been kind of answering them as we go, so.
Yes, I've totally neglected.
Why are you talking about cookies, Mooney?
That's between me and Evie.
Cookies are amazing. Cookies, let's just say, I am a cookie fiend. Chocolate chip.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the debate, but whatever.
You're talking about Oreo mint cookies or something. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
She wanted people to join her street team, and she was offering free cookies. And I was asking her which cookies, and I said I wanted Oreo mint.
That is good. That is good. Okay.
Fair. Okay, so I did something a little bit different, which was really cool because, like, you're on KU, so I get to see, like, your most highlighted, like, quotes and stuff. So what I did this time was I took one of the most highlighted quotes, and we're going to go ahead and do the Mad Lib with that. And I'm going to see if Miss Rizzy knows which one it is when we're done. So.
Okay. Wait, so for context, so the Mad Lib, am I actually playing like Mad Libs where I can put anything in, or am I trying to guess what it is?
Anything in. I will let you guys know, and then you give me the word, and then I will read it out loud, and we'll see if Miss Rizzy knows which quoted thing that I've picked. All right, so we always start with the author, and I need a verb that ends with S.
Well, we're talking about cookies, so what about eats?
Eat.
This could be very bad.
Oh, they cannot beat the green weenus and the button thing last.
That one was
It's true.
epic. That one was epic. All right, so we're going up. So Miss Rizzy, I need a verb.
Bite.
Okay. Mooney, I need a verb ending in ing.
Since we're going with mouth and food, I'm going to say licking.
Yes. Oh wait, we forgot the rule. Only one smelly, Mooney.
Only one.
I'm saving it.
All right, I need a noun. That's you, Renna.
Chocolate?
Sticking with the
Gotta be
cookies
there.
there.
I can't
like
even.
it.
Once you
We
talk
have a
about
theme
cookies,
tonight.
that's it.
All right, Rizzy, I need a verb.
Punch.
Punch. All right. Mooney, verb.
Jump.
Dump.
Jump.
Jump.
Yeah, like jump.
Yeah.
I thought he said
Yes.
dump. It's like dump it.
I need another verb.
Okay, this is me. Draw. We're gonna get off the food theme now.
I like it.
Rizzy, I need a body part. And it can't be weenus.
Ah, damn it. Forehead. That's the body part, right?
Yeah. Mooney, I need a verb ending in ed.
Ed.
I know, right, Evie? She's so mean, censoring me.
Ed. Chucked.
Chalked.
Chucked. Like tossed.
Oh, it's like chalked. Chalked? I've never heard that one.
Talk.
I need a verb.
Renna.
Run.
Oh,
What
I
was
thought
it?
you liked it.
Run?
Run.
Sorry, that was really menacing. Run.
Run.
I need a noun, Miss Rizzy.
Noun. Button.
You took it from me.
I did. You don't get to use it. It's mine.
All right. Mooney, we need to do a noun.
Shoe.
What?
What?
That's a noun, right?
What is
What
it?
was it?
Shoe.
Do?
Shoe.
Chew.
Chew.
That's an action, isn't it? That's not a
Shoe,
noun.
like you put on your feet.
That's a verb.
Shoe.
Huh? Shoe. Okay.
What is it?
Shoe. Like a shoe.
Oh, shoe. I thought he was saying do. I'm like, do. What the hell is a do?
That's a shoe.
Is that a Wisconsin slang that I was not a part of? They do that sometimes.
Renna, I need a noun.
Yarn.
Yarn.
There you go. I like it.
I just looked and there's yarn, so that's it. Yarn.
All right, Rizzy, you sum it up with an adjective.
Smelly. I stole that one too.
All right. Here we go. All right. I have a feeling you'll get this pretty quickly, Rizzy. But I won't, because she eats for him. And I, Viridian, bite abruptly. I care about her more than I know I should. There is nothing wrong with licking for your chocolate, cousin.
Okay.
Oh, but I punch for her too much, you see. I would jump her. If she allowed it, I would draw to my forehead and her feet. If she thought that I run the whole button to the shoe for her, I would, and then I would follow her into yarn gladly. A smelly silence follows. You know what this means, Meridian said at last. Have you told her?
I love it. I love it so much.
Oh my god.
I love that one so much.
And for those who weren't here in our last live,
Oh my
button is for the special place on a woman's parts that can excite her.
You mean it's the button?
It's the button.
It's the button.
Renna
But
didn't
if
know
you
the
guys wanna
button
know
word.
what she really wrote, you should go read her book on KU right now.
I
Right
can
now.
promise you it's not as good as what that was.
That was epic.
I don't know. I think the real quote in the scene in the book is better. Real.
It is really good. It is really good. So you guys, I urge you to go read what she wrote because it was really good.
So good.
We appreciate you coming on here with us, Renna. We want to see you in
this was.
September when
I've
the
been
book
looking
comes
forward to
out.
this. Seriously, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
having me. I've
Thank
gotten.
you.
I know, like I don't catch them all, but I get such a kick out of you guys going. Like I know I pop in
Right.
little, but
Well,
you guys, I get a kick out of it. So
it's what
um,
11, almost 11:30 for you right now. You're staying up late for this, and we appreciate it.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
Well,
she's making time for us.
anything for you guys. Anything for you.
And don't forget, ladies and gents, A Broken Throne of Bronze can be found in Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and where local books can be bought online. It is the first in the of Meddled and Curses series, and book 2 is set to come out in September. Don't forget to read it. You're going to want to read the next one.
Thank you guys, everybody, for coming tonight. I hope you guys have a fantastic night. Love you guys so much.
Love you, Ryan.
Thank you, Renna.
Thank you, Renna.
Thank you. Seriously, this has
Bye.
been amazing.
Bye.
Bye.